This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And the Sports Catastrophe moment of the day for May the 11th happened in my birth year, 1985. And it was a disastrous fire. Obviously, I'm not going to show you the scenes of the fire because it might be traumatizing to some. So basically, the Bradford City Stadium fire occurred during a third division match between Bradford City and Lincoln City. Basically, the third tier, because the first division was the first division. Now it's called the Premier League. It happened on a Saturday. The stadium was known for its antique design and facilities, which had the wooden roof of the main stand. There were a lot of warnings about litter below the seats of the stand. The stand had officially been condemned and was due to be replaced with a steel structure after the season ended. Bradford City had clinched the third division, which meant that they were going up to Tier 2 in England. Unfortunately, within 4 minutes, a small fire in the main stand with a windy condition had made the whole stand be engulfed by fire, trapping people in their seats. And there was a mass panic. Crowds escaped on the pitch, but others at the back of the stand tried to break down locked exit doors to escape, and many were burned to death at those gates. This led to rigid new safety standards in UK stadiums, the banning of wooden grandstands. It was a catalyst for the substantial development and modernization of British football grounds within 30 years. So anyway, the Bradford Stadium was built in 1886 and all that, which was amazing and all that. They actually improved things in 1911 and all that. Anyway, there was a lot of problems and all that because there was garbage beneath the stand and all that. And one letter says a carelessly discarded cigarette could give rise to a fire risk. But the club decided to get steel for new roofs, so it looked pretty good for them. So the 1985 football season was about to end. As it was a tough year and all that. But Bradford City did fantastic and all that. Bradford was going to be promoted to the second tier, which was amazing and all that. Millwall and Hull City jumped up from third to second division too. So it was amazing and all that. So Bradford City were going to go up, whereas Notts County, Cardiff, and Wolves were going to go from second to third. So that was there. So Bradford was celebrating a trip to the second division and all that. So anyway, before the game against Lincoln, Peter Jackson, not that Peter Jackson, but the captain, got to raise the trophy and all that. Over 11,000 fans were in the stands because they clinched the Division 3 title. The season's average was still over 6,600. There There were dignitaries and guests from 3 of Bradford's twin towns, Verviers in Belgium, Mönchengladbach, and Hamm in Germany. So anyway, Bradford's newspaper on May 11th would detail how the ground was inadequate in so many ways for modern requirements. Steel would be installed in the roof, and the wooden terracing would be replaced by concrete, and it was supposed to cost over 400,000 British pounds. Trevor Cherry and Peter Jackson were both good players on the team. So anyway, the match kicked off at 3:04, and it was still 0-0. And then 5 minutes before halftime, the first sign of fire, a glowing light was noticed 3 rows from the back of Block G. And John Helm, the legendary broadcaster who actually has done a lot of World Cup games for the international feeds, knew something about all that. A man from Australia lit a cigarette, and when it was coming down to an end, he put it down on the floorboard and tried to put his foot on it to put it out, and slipped through a hole in the floorboard. A minute later, he saw a small plume of smoke, so he poured his coffee on it, and so did his son. It seemed to put it out, but then there was a bigger whoosh of smoke a minute later, and they went to get a steward, but then the whole thing took off. There was paper debris on fire 9 inches below the floorboards, and the stand seats did not have risers because it allowed a large accumulation of waste in the cavity space under the stand, when it was not clear for many months. All that. Spectators spoke of feeling the feet becoming very warm and all that. So anyway, they called at 3:43, and the fire escalated rapidly. Flames were visible, and the stand had to be evacuated. As the blaze spread, the wooden stands and roof, covered with layers of highly flammable roofing felt, went ablaze. Burning timbers and melted materials fell from the roof onto the crowd and seating below, and black smoke spread in a flash and all that. The game was stopped, and it took 4 minutes for the entire stand to be engulfed in flames, and there was no extinguishers in the passageway for fear of vandalism, and there was a lot of problems and all that. Spectators went upwards to the back of the stand or downwards to the pitch to escape. The stand had no perimeter fencing to keep fans from accessing the pitch. Fortunately, that meant that they didn't have the crush asphyxiation that they had at the Hillsborough disaster in the FA Cup in '89. There was confusion and all that. The exits at the back of the stand were locked because of the game and all that. Thankfully, though, people outside got an exit and helped prevent further deaths and all that. It was just amazing and all that. So anyway, they all left and all that. So the fire brigade did arrive at the stadium 4 minutes after they were alerted. But the fire consumed the stand entirely, and they were not that good and all that. So 56 people had died and all that. The match was actually recorded by Yorkshire Television for the ITV show The Big Match. Uncensored coverage of the fire was transmitted minutes after the event on World of Sport from ITV and BBC's Grandstand. So there were 56 people who died and all that. So a lot of them were either under 20 or over 70. So 265 spectators were injured, but thankfully it wasn't more than 54 deaths. It was the worst fire disaster in British football history and the worst football-related disaster since 1971 when Ibrox had a crush of fans in a game between Rangers and Celtic. So anyway, the Bradford Burns unit was set up and all that. There was major inquiries and all that. So they basically said that wooden grandstands would be banned at all UK sports grounds and all that, and the banning of smoking at the wooden grounds. The inquiry found that the club had been warned about the fire risk about the garbage under the stands. It was condemned, and the demolition teams were ready to start work. Anyway. Well, a discarded cigarette, a dilapidated wooden stand, and a cuted paper litter led to the worst disaster in Football League history. So, anyway, it was just disastrous. In 1987, they said that Bradford City was 2/3 responsible for the incident, and the other third was county council. So anyway, it was just disastrous and all that. So Bradford just couldn't believe their lucks. It had a long-lasting effect on the fans and all that. So fans had to go through counseling and, it's bad and all that. So anyway, in 1985 at Leeds Stadium, where Leeds United, members of the 1966 English and West German teams competed in a fundraising match, which England won 6-4, and the disaster appeal fund got over £3.5 million quickly. Anyway, they redid "You'll Never Walk Alone" Liverpool song and all that. And it was #1 in the UK singles chart and all that. The money from this record was contributed to fund the Burns unit that was established in partnership between the University of Bradford and Bradford Infantry. So yeah, there was huge and all that. Bradford City actually didn't do so badly in the second division. They needed to beat Ipswich at home on the final day of the 1988 season to get to the first division, but failed, unfortunately. Valley Parade had to be rebuilt and all that. I can't remember where Bradford City had to play their games for the time being until they redid the stadium. Anyway, I don't remember. It did hurt Lincoln City because they had to be dropped. They dropped from the 3rd division to the 4th division. In 86, and then dropped again in 87. It was becoming the first team to be automatically relegated from the Football League. Fortunately, it took 1 year, and then they got back to the Football League in 1988 and survived till 2011. But some people said that Lincoln City's demise to the psychological effects of the fire on its players may have hurt the team. But there's new safety legislation that ruined Lincoln's park. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, Lincoln City had to commit £1.1 million to fix their stadium up and all that. So anyway, lots of things happened, but an inquiry and all that. Eric Bennett was the guy who accidentally started the fire. Anyway, there was a controversy saying that there was some kind of weird thing and all that. So anyway, I don't think many things happened to him. I think he just basically got lucky. But anyway, yeah, it was a terrible tragedy in British football. And Bradford City really almost suffered. I mean, it took years for them to suffer from it. They got lucky, but many fans didn't. 56 of them didn't come home that day due to dying in one of the worst fires in soccer history. And you can bank on it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.